Hello everyone, my name is Hannah, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most talked about movie releases of 2026, Obsession. If you've spent any time on TikTok or any social media like I have, you've probably seen people talking about it. There have been a lot of reaction videos, fan theories, edits, and a ton of debates about the characters and the ending. And I'm sure you've seen a bunch of reviews and all those forms of media I just talked about, but instead of just reviewing the movie and talking about the plot, I want to talk about why Obsession is an interesting current event in the film industry and how it connects to some of the ideas that we've been learning about in class. While when a big movie is released and shown in theaters, it tends to grab a lot of attention, but one thing that made Obsession different to me was the huge amount of attention it got online. It wasn't just a movie people are watching, it became a conversation. And I feel like when other movies like maybe the Barbie movie or like Super Mario or those kind of movies come out, there's a lot of talk about them online, but it's more about like edits and just hype around it. But for me, Obsession is, like I said, more of a conversation. People posted clips, reactions, theories all over social media. And even if someone hadn't seen the movie yet, like me, they probably knew about it because it kept showing up on their feed. And the first time I actually went to go see it in the movies, I knew a lot of the plot because I'd seen it all over social media. And that kind of online discussion created curiosity and really encouraged more people to buy tickets, like me, so they could see what everyone was talking about. I also think that the themes of the movie played a big role. Obsession focuses on complicated relationships, obsession, and the blurred lines of modern dating, and dating has become a much more talked about topic since social media became a thing, so I feel like people my age already talk about that all the time, so the movie really felt relevant to today's audience. And I realized it doesn't really follow Hollywood's usual formula. And what stuck out to me was in the lectures we discussed blockbuster mentality and how that is how studios often put most of their money into movies they think are guaranteed to make a profit. So that's why we see so many sequels, superhero movies, live action remakes, franchises, and films based on books or video games. And then there's also IP based movies which kind of fit into the blockbuster mentality, and they're based on existing intellectual property, like Barbie, that already has a built in fan base. From a business perspective, it makes sense because there's less financial risk. Obsession doesn't really fit into that category. It's not just another Marvel movie or a remake of something people already know. It tells an original story, and that's becoming less common in Hollywood because people do not want to risk their money and they want to make their money back through the box office. And I think that's one of the reasons that this movie is such an interesting current event. It shows that audiences still want original stories when they feel fresh, relatable, and worth talking about. And like I said, Obsession obviously generated conversation, so there's that. And it also makes me wonder if studios will be more willing to take chances on original films instead of relying so heavily on these franchises, blockbuster mentalities, and then IP-based movies. And then another idea from class that connected really well to Obsession is the difference between production, distribution, exhibition. So production is making the movie and everything that goes into it. Distribution is deciding how, where it's released and marketed. And exhibition is how audiences watch it, like you and me, whether that's in theaters or through Netflix or DVD, which we don't really use anymore. But I think the distribution and the marketing of Obsession are what made it really successful. Years ago, studios depended mostly on commercials, newspaper ads, billboards, and movie trailers, but today social media does a huge part of the marketing. And I feel like most of that marketing came from after the movie was already released. Personally, I hadn't seen a lot of Obsession trailers or anything like that outside of going to see a different movie and seeing Obsession or seeing the trailer for it before the movie I was going to go see. But I realized that after it already came out, I saw a lot of it on TikTok or Instagram or things like that. And then people also, along with that, trust recommendations from friends, influencers, more than traditional advertisements. So when thousands of people start talking about Obsession, making TikToks or YouTube videos about the same movie, it really creates a sense of curiosity. And people who weren't planning on seeing it suddenly decide to buy a ticket because they don't want to miss out on what everyone's talking about. And that's also another concept of today, which is FOMO. And in a way, I think that the audience becomes part of the marketing campaign, like what I said with how seeing TikToks and everything online. And I think Obsession is a great example of how powerful word of mouth has become in the social media era, and it's not just typical advertising anymore. What also sticks out to me is how movies are always changing and Hollywood's always changing based on what the audiences want. And right now, streaming services have completely changed how we are watching our movies, television, etc., even sports games. Instead of going to theaters every weekend, most people wait until movies are available on Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, anywhere you stream. And because of that, movies always have to give people a reason to leave their house and spend money on a theater ticket. And I think Obsession really did that by creating an experience people wanted to be a part of. Watching the movie wasn't enough. People wanted to discuss it afterwards, post about it online, and listen to others' opinions. And I think that if I would have waited until Obsession came out on streaming services, I don't think I would have gotten that full effect, because being in that movie theater really just amplified the effect that the movie had on me, and all the jump scares and the scary moments, some even the funny moments. I think they're better enjoyed in a theater, but that kind of audience engagement is incredibly valuable today. In conclusion, I think that Obsession is a great reminder that Hollywood doesn't always need superheroes or huge franchises to capture the people's attention, and while those kinds of movies will probably still continue to dominate the box office, I think that original movies still have a very important place in the industry, and if a film tells a compelling enough story and creates enough conversation online, audiences will show up and they are willing to spend their money. And to me, that's what makes Obsession such an interesting current event. It isn't just about one successful movie, it's about how the film industry is changing and how social media is influencing what people choose to watch. And overall, Obsession represents a lot of trends happening in Hollywood today. It challenges that blockbuster mentality by showing that an original film can still attract audiences. It also really demonstrates how important distribution and marketing have become, especially through social media and word of mouth. After learning about how the film industry works in class, I think it's really interesting to see those concepts play out in a current movie release. Obsession shows that while Hollywood is constantly changing, audiences are still looking for stories that feel original and spark conversation. Thank you.